with Alexander Laughlin, and I am Kaycey Hadl. And today we're going to talk about the new frequencies coming in and how they affect your body, as they're not going to go away and they're here to stay. So, welcome, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling the intense energies and have been taking a lot of time I probably could be taking more time to be able to ground into it. As we were talking earlier, it's very easy to get swept up in this energy. So
Yeah,
I'm doing good overall. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I kind of feel like sometimes I live a little bit of a different life than most people. So, whenever I feel that, we'll say intensity or just crazy chaos energy, I just try to take a pause and I'll go out and talk to the plants or dig in the dirt or making sure like keeping those staples like walking, which I have not been good at the last couple weeks.
Mhm.
To essentially like get a recharge. But yeah, the energy has been intense. We had what was it this weekend and the weekend before. Oh, now I remember. I think it was the weekend before or this past weekend. We had like 8 solar flares on a Saturday, and then we had a couple on the Sunday, and oh, it was the weekend before. And I noticed like a huge jump in a lot of my elderly clients who have
Mm.
health issues.
Hmm.
When those solar flares hit, man, their health issues really come up to the surface.
Hmm.
And I just noticed that a lot of people got sick or were in and out of the hospital for they didn't have any issues, like no things that were coming up for them, but all of a sudden, bam, they were there in the hospital when those solar flares started hitting.
Yeah, my grandmother was in the hospital this last week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's totally fine, but I've been noticing that a lot even within this year. A lot of my family members and friends have just been hospitalized and just trying to understand like yes, there's you know scientific reasons for that, but there's also other things at play like these solar flares that I think bring these things up or cause that. I don't know even if chaotic energy is the right word for it, but it almost like pokes those things that are like on the verge of being an issue, a physical issue for people.
Yeah, and so I always tell people we're kind of in like this death cycle, right? But it's really a death and a rebirth,
Mhm.
right? Which I know sounds really heavy when I say it out loud, but when those solar flares hit, that plasma light pushes up energetically all the things we haven't processed to the surface for us to process. So when we have physical health issues already, it takes those and it magnifies them, right? So
Yeah.
on the physical level, the physical body is usually the last part that shows up as an indicator as there's a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually show up, we don't notice it until we physically have something going on.
Right.
And that's our cue. Okay, there's something here for us to process. So it's like when people already have those physical issues, it takes that physical issue and magnifies it.
Hmm.
And that's where we see a lot of people transitioning. And it's what we forget is we'll say heaven or heaven on earth or whatever you want to call it. It's really just another dimensional place,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yep.
know that um it's funny, I've seen heaven. Well, I've only seen heaven through a lot of the people who have passed. They're how they would view it. Okay. Or like I'll see like the angels or whatever up there in that space, and it's really just a higher vibration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that those solar flares just seem to like kind of push all the crap
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
up for us to process. And I mean, I always feel like when there's a solar flare going to hit, these interesting things happen. Like out of nowhere, I'll be like, I gotta go lay down.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Like
Yeah.
I am so tired.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Um,
Same experience here. I describe it as also, talking about it, bringing up things that need to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
I explain it as like when you turn on a faucet and water starts to shoot down onto the dirty dishes and you start to scrub. That's kind of what it's like. It's like the
Yeah.
water in the sink is going to get really dirty before it gets clean, right? Because you're getting all the muck off of the plates.
Yeah.
And that's been a really good example for me to know what's going on, and also a good indicator of when these things are happening, because my journey is all about discernment right now and being
Yeah.
able to discern if what I'm feeling is actually something that I need to process, and or is there something that is encouraging me or poking me from the outside, like a solar flare or some sort of energetic alignment with the planets, that are encouraging me to do that. And I don't know if it's important to like really, really know. I think it's just important to like honor what you're feeling and like let
Yeah.
the energy move however it wants to move. Like you could track all this information and it's would be good and helpful to know perhaps, but for me it's like, okay, you just ignore what's going on outside. Like let's go inward. Why are you feeling these things? We'll connect to the reasons, maybe what's been poking this outside of you, like the solar flares or whatever after. And yeah, sometimes it's just taking a nap. Sometimes it's like literally laying down, closing your eyes, turning off the phone, and letting your body go through a process so that it can heal itself, or
Yeah.
whatever it might look like. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm a go, go, go person. And I just started my business like 2 years ago, and like, the first 5 years, it's like raising a kid. I don't want to use that example, but you're raising something, you're building the foundation of something important. And so my nervous system has just been go, 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 go. And so as we're entering this great planetary transition here, um, it's so fascinating how the way that I thought I needed to support my business and do all this like responsibility for my business and for myself. It's funny how spirit has been telling me, actually, before you start manifesting things outside of yourself, you need to start manifesting and aligning things internally
Yeah.
first. And so with all this energy coming in, it's been forcing me to do that, forcing me to
Yeah.
like close my eyes, realign in here, so that when I'm manifesting and doing my other things out here, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. I always just tell people that the new fast is slow. When you feel like you're getting kind of like swept away and all that energy and you're go, 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 like that's the time to just pause. And if you don't pause, then the pause will come for you.
Yeah,
But pause and center and go within because that's where the peace is first created is within, so it
yeah,
can be rippled without. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it is I always find like we're trying to manifest something. We're always looking outside of ourselves rather than let me do me first and then help other people second. And I always tell people it's a lot easier to help other people than it is to help ourselves, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just it's making the space and the time to do that, which I think we're all kind of guilty of
yeah, yeah,
not doing that, like getting swept away in that current. And that's what it feels like as a current. And that's the one thing is a lot of people will talk about, well, I want to manifest more clients or manifest this, but it's paying attention to the waves of energy when they come in. Because you can feel kind of like that crescendo, like the energy is hitting its peak. And that's when we want to manifest, 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 because there's all that energy right up there. So we go within and we channel the energy and then we activate whatever we're trying to manifest. And then we allow the wave to go back out, that natural ebb and flow for it to come and bring it back to us. Does that make any sense?
yeah, yeah. It just honoring the cycles is what I'm hearing. Um, just being in alignment with what's being called in the moment and not judging it either way too. So
Right.
I would judge the pause and like judge myself for feeling like I'm doing nothing. Like I always felt like I had to do something, and I still deal with that sometimes. And so knowing that when the energetic high is there, as long as I'm aligned in here, everything that I need to manifest will manifest. I just have to put that trust. And when I'm in that low moment, knowing that everything is fine and perfect and that I'm actually being called to rest and not pressuring myself to do something in that time of rest and recovery. Um, I was going to ask you, do you have any like suggestions for people who are experiencing this really intensely, like anything that would help them to honor the pause and honor the recovery process?
Yeah. So when you're talking about the ebb and flow, right, and how we want to go, 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 that means we're giving, 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 giving. But if we don't pause and allow ourselves to receive, then that isn't balanced, right? It's just a really tall wave that keeps waving, right? The wave's got to come down and crash,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of that infinity symbol. So as
Hmm.
we give, 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 allow myself to receive back to me times three.
Mm.
So when we're in that pause, that's our time to receive. That's the time to do things for ourselves so that we can recharge our battery so we have something to give from.
Yeah.
Because as empaths, you know, we want to constantly be going, going, going and helping others and be in that, we'll say, busy energy, but we also have to allow ourselves to receive. So when our, well, quote unquote, business or that receiving end dries up, we're not receiving. Well, is there space for us to receive?
Yeah.
Right? Or are we open? And I feel like a emotion there for me because I always feel like that's challenging. But are we open to receiving those things in our life that we've been asking for? Or do we kind of have this, oh, this up that isn't allowing us to receive?
Yeah.
So thinking about like, how can you allow yourself to receive in this pause? You can walk outside and smell the lilacs. You can hug a tree. You can recharge your battery with, we'll say, the creator's energy, right? The universe's energy by being out in nature, because the nature spirits will surround you and recharge you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you
Yeah.
can get in water, you can color, you can dance. However, we need to like just be and have fun with it. Like, when did we become such sticks in the mud that we forgot about the fun things, right? Well, we get so used to like go, 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 we forget there is fun in the pause and allowing ourselves to receive in that relaxation.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. I have
Yeah.
been kind of discovering for myself this idea of getting into your creative flow state. You get your brain waves to be in that flow state. For me, the way that I do that is through drawing. And when I get into a flow state, it's really interesting that I'll notice shifts in my energy and that I'm able, because I'm in that flow state, I'm kind of this kind of vessel for energy that maybe has been wanting to move through me, but I have not brought awareness to it or acknowledged it or worked with it, that it
Yeah.
ends up getting released through my art. And so
Mhm.
that I think when you're talking about play, that's part of it too, is like you're just in this playful state and it's almost like you're able to let go of a lot of the things that are in alignment with you with grace through dance or through, being outside in the grass. Like it's just for me, at least it can be a graceful way to process your emotions or process whatever's coming up without the like, oh my gosh, I have to like sit down and think about my trauma and like how am I going to get through this? And I'm not saying that there isn't space for that, but yeah, I think we get so many sticks up our butt, that we forget to play, and that play is actually a really important and integral part of healing,
Yeah.
and just existing. We forget about that.
Yeah, and so it's like there's the recharge and then there's also like the self-care piece,
Yes.
right? So I feel like the play is the recharge
Mm.
And then the self-care is like swimming or hiking or whatever, just recharges our battery field. And I haven't got to do that too much today. I have walked around and talked to my plants a lot today as I'm like looking up here. I'm like, oh, there's a giant wasp on my ceiling.
Oh.
Like nature's coming in to find me if I'm not going to
Uh-huh.
go out there and find it. But
Yeah.
that, and then I've been then in that space where I've forgotten that the flow is there for a reason. And that's usually when too, it's like I will dive into some of my creative projects that I wanted to work on, and they've been sitting over there in the corner, but I haven't worked on them because I like doing that and it helps like get me recharged. Um it's not that I'm trying to keep busy, it's just that there it is. Now you actually have time. Like be thankful that you have the time to
Yeah.
do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always think of it too, like the thankfulness piece in our life, which it seems so silly sometimes, but I always think of when I was having this conversation with it was with my mother or whatever, and she was complaining about having to pay the government taxes, right? Imagine that. But in the back of my mind, I kept hearing, be thankful that you have the money to pay for that. Right? It allows you to like have this beautiful house and to have this sanctuary, and thankful that you have the money to actually pay for that, because when my taxes come up, I usually have to move a bunch of money around it and there aren't funds to pay for it. So it's being thankful for the pause too, and doing those things that bring you in joy,
Yeah. Ooh,
you
that's good.
know,
That's good.
right? And enjoy in the moment, because like we stupid but smart humans get so like jacked into the public system that says all
Yeah.
the fucking time, excuse me.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that passion of wanting something different, and I think of it too in masculine and feminine terms. We live in such a masculine driven environment societally. And what does that really mean? Well, it means that we're just go, 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 go. And masculine is all about that order and that structure, but when it's twisted into overdrive, it becomes toxic for us. And we're in that kind of toxic environment societally where
Yeah,
there's no space for the feminine, which is all about creation and flow. And
yeah.
I will
Our
say,
soul.
just yeah, there is chaos in the feminine too, and that's
Oh yeah.
the masculine comes in and helps with that. But just I think where we're at societally and even planetarily, we're shifting to that more balanced masculine and feminine, where the masculine is simply supporting the feminine. So we'll have more space to create. We'll have more space to be in flow, but we'll also have the structure around us to be able to maintain the physical experience as we're incorporating the spiritual, which is the feminine.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's funny you're talking about the tax thing because one of my friends was talking about how she was shifting her perspective around taxes, and she was saying she was getting so upset that she had to do taxes, and then she's like, you know what? I'm grateful I get to pay taxes. And I'm like, that's a bit of a stretch for me to be able to say I'm grateful I pay taxes. But I love your dramatic shift of positivity is really inspiring to take these
Right.
things that are maybe not preferred and be able to bring a sense of gratitude for them so that we can cultivate more of that, Easier
Yeah.
said than done, but I think it's a great thing to do.
Yeah. And I just think of too, like with this, we'll call it influx of plasma light energy, this new earth or this higher vibrational energy, whatever we want to term it as. It's not going away. It's here to stay. And that's what I heard in so many readings last week and so many times from my guides is this energy that we're in now is the new norm. So it's the self-care and recharge piece is no longer an option. It's learning to live in that multi-dimensionality,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes we have to, I say, come down and human and
Yeah.
deal with those very 3D things.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I didn't have any work. I actually have time to do it. Like, okay, be thankful. Be
Hmm.
thankful for the lull. I can put the energy in this that I need to get done, and then I can shift into this. But in that higher dimensional living, it's trusting in that flow. It's trusting in the energy, and wherever your focus goes is where the energy flows.
Yeah.
So if we're so focused on, I don't have this, or the lack mentality in this new energy wave, that's what we get more of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of a mind fuck is the term I like to use.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But if we're focusing on that fucking coffee pot being empty all the time,
Yeah.
then it will just be emptier the next day, as if that's not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how we're so quick to judge our external reality when it's really just pinpointing an internal issue, right? You're judging the coffee pot for being empty. Well, girl, you're probably empty too, in a way, you know?
Whatever. Yeah, dude.
So it's, I really like the idea that we can't reflect what we're not the vibration of. And we are divinely creative beings. And we, through our imagination, can create all these kinds of stories, that then our body believes, which affirms those, awarenesses of like, oh, the coffee pot's empty. Well, you can shift that, reflect it inward, see where you're empty and perhaps what you need. Maybe you actually need some coffee. Maybe you need to
Who
go get some
doesn't need that?
coffee. Yeah, yeah. Everything in moderation. Where was I going?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we literally have the capability to create a reality that's truly in alignment with our dreams. But it takes some like real looking at yourself to identify, what belief systems are getting in the way of you believing that. And it's a shift in awareness, which is easier said than done, depending on how strong those limiting beliefs are. But you can start small. It doesn't have to be this tumultuous thing unless you want to make it that way, you know.
Yeah.
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 Is that wasp still in there? Are you still looking at that wasp?
Yes, I'm sorry. He'll be here the entire time. And in the, I have my door open, so then I've heard energies or spirits walk in and stand next to me, and then it gets really loud, and then they walk back out. So yeah, it's fine. I was talking to, as I do, I was talking to a lot of beings earlier.
Yeah. I was like, maybe they want to be on the guest on this podcast too.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling. And not to get us too sidebarred, but earlier I had a session and I had the door open, and this happened last week too. And out of nowhere, this big gust of wind will come along and a leaf will just roll in front of my door, but it's not really a leaf. It's like a little troll going.
Oh my gosh.
It's it's a little crazy out there. And they've been calling me out to like, come do this and come do that. And I'm like, I have to work first, then I will come outside.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It is kind of crazy out there, but with this new energy wavelengths that are coming in, is like all that plasma light is pushing up that heavy dark things, shadow things up to the surface for us to process, so that our new place of residence will be in those higher dimensions. But until we process that blockage or those baggage that we've been carrying around, we don't get it. We'll say make that seventh dimensional place our new place of home until we process that baggage, and then it will become our stationary space. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a
And
question.
so
Oh,
go
no.
ahead.
Okay.
You,
Well, I would love for you to talk about, we talk about this new earth, the seventh dimension, and bringing in this new energy. But what will that actually look like for us? I know we talked about like self-care is going to be really important, but what else will that look like for us on a planetary level?
well, so I kind of think of it like, as we humans are going through this ascension, it's also remembering that the plants and the animals and Mother Earth and the rest of the galaxy that is surrounding us are all going through this same level of ascension, right? Because we're all orbiting the sun. So we're all experiencing these same levels of, well, ascension energy, as you will. And when I see it, it's like ephemeral overlay in energy is how I would describe it. So when you imagine, let's say, someone that has a lot of unprocessed ancestral trauma, when I have those people come in for readings, when it's ancestral trauma explicitly, it will look like a hazy overlay in the energetic field. And it's not that the person's negative or unhappy or any of those things. They could be the most wonderful person, but I'll see this overlay in their energetic field. And what that says to me is there's some ancestral baggage for them to process. And after they process that, that heavy overlay goes away and a new overlay, like this light body, gets activated and comes in. So this higher vibrational wavelengths will actually make people look shinier.
Wow.
They also the they think of something and then it happens if it's in alignment.
Mm.
Now, for me, that's a very serious thing. So I have to be very mindful
Yeah.
of what I'm thinking about because sometimes it'll just show up and land in my lap. I'm like, whoa, I gotta be
Uh-huh.
a
Uh-huh.
little more, a little more conscious of my thoughts, especially on those high wave days. You
Yeah.
put that thought out there, it's like whoop,
Yeah.
coming to me. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's also that it's like this beautiful ephemeral energy that kind of surrounds thing where those dimensions that people couldn't imagine or see will start coming to the forefront as you start embodying more of that fifth, seventh, and ninth dimensional energy. That's why you finding a lot of people more interested in elementals and people that have passed mediumship is because those dimensions are now closer to us where we'll be able to see them. Those Sasquatches and Yetis and fairies and stuff, like all of a sudden people are like, oh my God, I just saw, I think, a troll run across my living room. Well, yeah, he's lived there for 300 years, right? Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people are now seeing those things
Uh,
because they're up there in the higher dimensions where they live. So a lot of your elementals, depending on the type and variety, right, are up there between like the seventh and 12th dimension. And that's where those beings are right there. Like they're real, like we could reach out and pet them, and you almost could. But I have noticed this explicitly that I'm physically being touched by elementals.
wow.
Like I had one of the gnomes came in and pinched me the other day and brought me this little 4-leaf clover. Now, he didn't really bring me a 4-leaf clover. It was, a clairvoyant symbol,
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
I physically felt him pinch me.
Huh.
And I was like, wow, but that has to do with us getting closer to their dimensions that they can manipulate, touch more.
Yeah.
And
That's on a
so
whole
that,
other level.
right. Have you experienced that?
I've started to see spirits, which I never used to see them.
Yeah.
And that happened in November. And I've asked a friend about it, and basically is explaining what you're saying, just in different ways, that your veils are thinning and things are being revealed. And that I'll most likely probably see even more things of that nature as we continue to ascend and transition into higher realms. But I haven't necessarily, I mean, through my clairvoyancy, I can pick up on um like gnomes and aliens too. Um, but it hasn't been super strong yet.
Yeah.
Um, but physical, I haven't had any like things touch me like that. That's really interesting to me that that's happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, um, it was very strange for me when it happened, because I've never felt that before. Now I have had an alien like swoosh my ponytail before. Um, now
Wow.
that freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
That was, I'm
That's a
like,
lot.
right. And I felt him there, but I was in like a public setting. I was in my house actually, and my friend who doesn't believe in that sort of things was sitting right next to me. And I felt him come behind me and smack my ponytail. And I looked at my friend and I'm looking around, and then I'm like, oh, yes, I forgot I was supposed to have a conversation with you later, right? So there's also that piece as we move up there in those higher dimensions is seeing, feeling, knowing these beings are actually closer to us than
Yeah.
we could possibly imagine. But it's also these new dimensions. It really brings the telepathic energy online.
Oh, yes.
Like, and
Yes.
when the waves are coming in, like you feel that energy coming in, that crescendo effect. Like the telepathy is on point. Like I just think of someone, then they call, oh, you were in my dream. Yes, I know. I was there too.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wow. So
Right.
is it true to say that the higher you go in dimension, the more light there is? Is that true to say?
Um, so in order to reach, we'll say those higher dimensions, you have to be able to get there. Okay. In order for us to get there, we have to be of a certain frequency. So our embodiment of the light body has to be at a certain, we'll say, frequency or phase for us to access those higher dimensions. So is there more light there? Yes. Yes. And some of the times it is just light,
Hmm.
right? Depending on what that day is and what is channeling through, because some days there is just more of a portal of light or portal of energy for us to tap into. But yes, our light body has to be activated to a certain degree to access those dimensions. There's also usually gatekeepers at dimensions, so on and so forth. But I really feel like it's really just our frequency is the natural gatekeeper for us accessing those higher dimensions. Did that answer
Okay.
your question? I'm sorry, did I get a
Yes.
little
Yes, because just information, the way that I'm processing your information and kind of what I already know is, another way that you could talk about these things kind of being revealed, like Sasquatch and other things, and even like our internal things that might get brought up as we're ascending is because there's literally more light. And I think about light, shining itself in those dark places, which is helping to
Yes.
reveal those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a more of an embodiment of the light body. um and yeah, I'm also just hearing too, like, to really ascend, we have to adjust our frequency, which of course part of this ascension is like the self-care, because self-care is helping you to ascend
Yeah.
at the same time. And so it's like so important to take care of yourself during this, because that's what's helping you get to that higher dimension,
Yeah.
which may have been obvious, but I'm just having a deeper realization about it now.
No, no, I love that. I think that people also, something important to realize is in order to access those higher dimensions, we have to have a certain frequency. Okay. So what we put into our temple or orifice, whatever you want to say, needs to be of a, we'll say, higher frequency as well in order to access those higher dimensions. So if we're eating Snickers and cheeseburgers all day, it's going to be really tough for us to access those higher dimensions because that heavy food holds us down,
Yeah.
right? Our body can't process it, or it does process it and goes completely through us, and we don't get any nutritional value.
Yeah.
But there's also the point of those upper chakras. So we have 22 chakras, right? We always go to the seven basic, but those upper level chakras need to be activated in order for us to access those higher levels and dimensions.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's a whole long conversation in itself, but those higher dimensions are more accessible when when there's like full moon, new moon, Anytime that there's like number sequences that open up those different portals, like the 444 portal, 888 portal, there's always a portal of light that's coming in. So there was a recent portal of light. I think it was the 4-4 portal, but there was also like astrological alignment that day. And man, for me, I just closed my eyes and there was these two big Illyrians standing there and they're like, we want to help you with your DNA and RNA upgrades. And I'm like, okay, like good morning. Um,
Yeah.
right. So I just validated with my guides that they were there for my highest and best good because, not all ETs are ones we want to work with.
Right.
You have choices in that,
Yep.
is all I want to say there.
Yep. Hmm.
And so once I verified with my guides that it was, they came in and man, it was just this portal of light that came through. And I was just feeling like my body vibrating. And a lot of times when I'm feeling that, like my head will kind of bobble like
Hmm.
this because I'm tapping into like another frequency and it makes you vibrate,
Yeah. I had chills as you're talking about it.
right?
Yeah.
I'm
Wow.
sure you've kind of experienced that or when you're channeling, because when I'm
Yep.
channeling, like when I'm tapping into something, I'll be going
Hmm.
back and forth like this, and it's the frequency that I'm channeling. And even a lot of times during hypnosis sessions, there'll be people's angels or guides or their galactic guides will be here. And I'll be feeling that with the client as well. Like that energy is running through my body.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yep.
I don't have any choice but to upgrade.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel the same way too. Well, I want
Right?
to go back to the Lyrans here because they have been
Yes.
connecting with me a lot recently for other people. There was this client that I had, and they had been sending me light language codes for her, and they had me channel this like God. They called it the God code, and it had
Hmm.
all of this layers of different light language codes in it, and they were telling me that this code gives them the portal. They use the word gateway to
Yes.
like pure source, and that's what the Lionsgate portal is. It's literally to heaven or source or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um, and they were specifically telling me that these codes are visual. They're telling me to help her to visualize these codes going into her DNA. And so it's
Well,
fascinating hearing you talk about the DNA upgrades with them. It's just like a pattern I'm seeing that's what their
yeah.
messages are usually about.
So a lot of times too, uh, during hypnosis sessions, I'll have people imagine their double helix RNA and DNA and to energetically pop out the old fuses that are dark and bring in the new light fuses with the new light codes and pop them in. And that usually helps them because when the individual is in control of the recoding, it brings their power back to them and they don't, I don't want to say have to try, right? It just is.
Yeah.
Uh, the Lyrians now, or Lyrans, I always call them Lyrians and it's a Lyrans. But who knows, right?
Yeah. Who knows? We don't know anything.
Who knows? It was the, they have come to me before, but I didn't realize it was them. But the last time they had came through, like their energy is like this very blue, kind of iridescent, and then there's like this ephemeral pink that moves in there. And I just imagine these lions, but there's these lions that are like human
Mhm.
bodies.
Mhm.
It's a really intense energy. There's
Mhm.
so many different types of um, aliens out there, and some of them are better at working with humans than others. But their energy, and as I'm saying aliens, I can hear like beings moving through my office again, and the light just flickered. But there are positive ones, and then there are also ones that it's a big fat no, I don't want to work with it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But yes, they definitely do help with the DNA and the RNA upgrades. And it's really for us to access those higher dimensions or the God code, if you will. We've
Yeah.
got to have that 14th chakra activated. Uh,
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then,
Oh, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was gonna say, have there been any specific ETs, and we talked about the Lyrans that have helped you with your ascension or being able to like integrate all of this uh, I don't even know, higher vibrational energy is a good word, but this
New
energy
Earth.
that's coming in to help us transition into a new earth.
So, wow, I talk to a lot of things. Um, and I say things because there's really no one thing that I haven't spoken with. I've spoken with plants and animals and insects and gnomes and trolls and fairies and centaurs and minotaurs and unicorns and beings that look like starfish heads with pink robes. And
Mm.
um, I think the two main ones that I work with, and then some other ones that have come in recently, but I have a galactic guide who I just call T, and he's Andromedan, and he looks like a rock man to me. But so if you think of the Fantastic Four, the guy on there that looks like a rock, right? That's what he looks like to me, even though he like sheds his skin.
Interesting.
Um, he has really helped with like 12th dimensional manifestation. He helps me there. And then I have another friend. He's not a guide, he's just a friend. And when I hear him come through, he sounds like he's Australian.
Hmm.
And his name I cannot pronounce because it's in like fish language. It's like boo boo boo. Okay. Right. But he has gills and he's all green and he kind of looks like something that you would see on Star Wars, but he's a fish man and he's got like these little fish whiskers.
Hmm.
Um, and he is not Andromedan, but another name, and I can't think of what it is. Not Andromeda. Shoot. I'll think of it when I'm not thinking of it. But it's
Uh-huh.
another A name. Um, Arcturian. There we go. He's
Ah,
Arcturian, but he has traveled to many different planetary systems. And he first came to me, funny enough, when I was in the bathtub.
of course, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I had just finished doing a really big fair where there was a ton of just reptilian energy and just a lot of, we'll say, interdimensional attacks happening that I didn't want any business with. And he said, let me help you process that. And essentially he can filter out the dark, heavier energy and he eats it like a snack.
Oh, interesting.
So when I have heavy clients come in, he'll he'll come in and act as like a guide or just helping me clear people. So he'll just reach through people's energetic field and eat it up until he's full and be like, I can't eat anymore. Um,
Wow.
but
That's
when I
really
hear,
cool.
right? And so when I hear him talk, he sounds like an Australian
Uh-huh.
accent to me.
Huh.
It's so funny.
That is fascinating.
And then the tall grays, there's the tall grays, and they came in and helped me work in some healing sessions. And they're really good at removing blockages from people's energetic field, but they can be a little, they're not very good with humans. And so they're good at like removing blockages and stuff,
Yeah.
but they're not good with boundaries. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I hear they have like emotional intelligence is not really something that they have awareness.
Correct. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
lack of emotional intelligence there. Like when they're working on somebody and somebody's feeling uncomfortable, they just keep going rather than like, hey, take a break, give them a second,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and then the Lyrans, there's been the Lyrans there. There's a lot of just a lot of um a lot of ETs that have been coming in, but then there's also the higher vibrational Earth ETs that are here. So it's like past loved ones, but that have ascended past heaven and that are here helping to usher in the new earth, or the beings that live, at the center of the earth, or in different places
Yeah.
in the earth. There's also that.
Wow. Well, the reason I ask is just for the viewers who might feel like they want some, just to know that there's resources and support for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And that you're definitely not alone, and there are entities and beings that do have your highest and best interest and want the best for you, that want to help. Uh,
Yes.
and that, if you need help navigating that, reaching out to Casey or I would
Oh, yeah.
be, good. But I think it was just important to talk about so people know that
Yeah.
there is support for you.
Yeah. Because I think when we first start feeling those things or seeing those things, especially when we'll say, moving up the ascension cycle and being able to access those higher dimensions, we kind of become like a shiny penny to a lot of the ETs out there. They're like, "Ooh, that shiny penny. Do you see it down there? We want to work with them." And I say down there like they're above us, but that's not always where they're at. And I'll just say that,
Right.
okay?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh.
But it's a lot of times there's a lot of fear, like, I've been told this is bad, and da da da. The first thing is like, does it feel bad? If it doesn't feel good, then obviously it's not right for you.
Hmm.
But I always say to access like your other guides and ask them, like, should I work with this being? Is it good for me? Have like a go-to there
Hmm.
to ask those questions to, so, to validate you. Like, it could even just be your grandma. Like, do you like this alien? Is he good?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Grandma knows best, so ask her.
Right, right. And I mean, our past loved ones are always around us more on our birthdays and stuff like that. But it's
Yeah,
like they're always there no matter what. We just have to call out to them or think of them, and they'll be right there to help us, right? There's
yeah.
always help.
Yes, always help. And yet trust your intuition when I
Yeah.
think that was really important for you to say, like, if it feels good, well, it feels good and that might be good. But if you want to double check, ask your guides and just trust the feelings you get, or trust the images you see in your mind when you're asking those questions. Trust your surround. Maybe your guides connect with you in a very specific way where you see a cardinal or something. Trust the signs. Don't doubt yourself.
And tap into them. Like, if you're seeing that cardinal, then ask, well, who is this here?
Mhm.
Or what does this mean? Like,
Yeah.
tap into it, ask the question so that you can get the answers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's really exciting this time of great transition and embodying more of this light, we'll say. Just for me, the way that I see it is it's just making everything a lot easier to deal with. I feel like here on Earth School, it's just already tough enough. And as we're transitioning, I feel like we're just entering this easefulness. But we're gonna have to like acknowledge these things that are not aligned with easefulness first, get that out
Yeah.
on the table so that we can move into a more creative, inflow, balanced reality. It's exciting. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. And I think the important thing there is to remember that if we're focusing on the problem, then we get more of the problem. But if we
Yeah.
focus in on the solution, the
Hmm.
problem is where our energy goes. And that's a big thing, especially we'll say in the 3D realm, is to focus in on the solution
Yeah.
and be mindful of the reality TV show that's playing out on TV. If
Mhm.
we're watching it like it's our reality versus it's an alternate reality,
Yep.
right? Is
Yep.
important, and remembering that we the people still have power and a voice and choice in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the awareness. You just gotta put the awareness in there. You got to be aware that you do
Yeah.
have the power and the choice, and don't let anything tell you that you don't, because
Yeah.
that's the false truth. That's the truth that's dying now. We're bringing in a new
That's
truth.
yeah, and that's the truth, that manipulation and control through fear.
Yeah.
uh, and once again, it's unjacking from the fear and jacking into I am
Hmm.
powerful and I do have a choice.
Yeah.
Because even though the ocean is just many droplets of water, it's all those droplets of water that came together to be 75% more of the earth, you know?
That's a juicy example. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you're like feeling called to speak to about this?
I think the biggest thing is like, especially from now to May, this is what the guides were talking about is it's just a new way of being and a new way of living. So having that support, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, like checking all those boxes every week. Like you don't have to be super meticulous about it, but making sure we at least check those boxes during the week so we are balanced and centered. Having that physical practice that gets us into a body that makes us feel good about ourselves. The recharge piece is so important, and that's been a lot of people like coming in like, I'm not moving forward and I'm not moving backward. I'm just stuck. I'm like, well, you're not stuck. You're in the void.
Mhm.
And when we're in the void, that means there's something for us to process there, or
Mhm.
it's that, or we're getting ready to sap forward and it's just a pause. So our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual can recalibrate before we're like, beep,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we snap forward again. So it's
Yeah.
if you have process and you're like, I don't know why I'm not moving forward, it's because everything is recalibrating. Just rest, have your delicious snackies and
Mhm.
watch the birds and then all of a sudden you're going to be, launched forward, but it's remembering that the pause is necessary and that's what brings us back to center and balance before we jolt ahead again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep hearing the Circle of Life song from The Lion King in my mind as you're talking about this. You gotta honor the circle of life, honey. You can't get one
Right?
without the other. So